Green Hill is a typical American suburb. Houses with white porches, well-kept lawns, children riding bicycles, neighbors nodding to each other across the street. My wife, Sarah, and I had lived here for almost 15 years. Our house was at the end of the street, next to a small park. Every morning, I drove to my office. I worked at a construction company, designing cottages. Sarah ran the household, and a couple of years ago, she got a job at the local library. She had always loved books. We seemed like an ordinary American family. Weekend barbecues, evening chats with neighbors, occasional trips to the ocean. Our son Josh was in high school, preparing to go to college. Life seemed settled, and peaceful years appear to lie ahead. But it is precisely when you think everything is stable that fate throws challenges your way. I began noticing changes in Sarah. At first, they were small. A new haircut she got without consulting me. Bright lipstick she had never worn before. Evening text messages, after which she would turn her phone screen away. "Who's that?" I asked one day when I saw her quickly hiding her phone. "Oh, just a colleague from the library," Sarah smiled, as if it were nothing. I didn't think much of it. After all, she had the right to a private life. But deep down, something felt troubling. Soon, there were late nights at work. First to unload books, then a meeting, then the girls decided to go for coffee. Sarah started leaving the house more often in the evenings. I wanted to believe her. But at one family dinner, a neighbor accidentally let something slip. "I saw your Sarah at the bar by the highway yesterday. She was there with some man." I froze. The neighbor didn't notice my reaction and continued chatting about supermarket discounts. But her words stuck in my mind. That night, I barely slept. I lay next to my wife, listening to her even breathing, and I kept thinking, who is he? I decided not to question Sarah right away. You know, in America, people are used to keeping up appearances, even if everything inside is burning. We sat at breakfast. I was eating scrambled eggs. She was flipping through USA Today, and everything looked as if nothing had changed. But after the neighbor's words, I began noticing more. Small details I had overlooked before. Her phone was almost always nearby. She used to leave it anywhere. On the kitchen table, in the living room, even in the bathroom. Now always at hand, screen down. She started paying more attention to herself. New clothes, heels, perfume. I asked her once, "Who are you dressing for?" She laughed. "For myself." Or, "Maybe for you, what's wrong with that?" I wanted to believe her, but her gaze seemed somewhere else. One evening, I came home earlier than usual. Sarah said she had an evening shift at the library. But when I entered the house, she wasn't there. Josh said Mom had left 2 hours ago. I decided to check. I got in the car and drove toward the bar the neighbor had mentioned, a small roadside place dimly lit with neon Coors Light signs. I parked nearby and started watching. About 10 minutes later, she appeared, in a short coat, hair down, and next to her was a man, tall, dark-haired in a denim jacket. They were laughing, walking too close to each other. I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. I wanted to run out, scream, tear off the mask. But I didn't. I sat in the car, watching them enter the bar. I stayed there for another 20 minutes. Every time the door opened and laughter spilled out, it felt like I could hear her voice. But I didn't dare go in. Instead, I went home, sat in the living room in the dark, and waited. Sarah returned around midnight. She smiled tightly. "Long day. Were you asleep?" "No, waiting," I replied calmly. She froze for a second, then came over and kissed me on the cheek, and went to the bedroom. I watched her walk away and, for the first time in my life, felt a wall between us. The next day, I woke up earlier than usual. Sarah was still asleep, and her phone was lying on the nightstand. I stared at it like it was forbidden fruit. In 15 years of marriage, I had never once looked at her messages. It felt humiliating, like a violation of trust. But at that moment, I realized trust was already gone. I picked up the phone. The screen was locked with a passcode. She had never used one before. I put it back and went to the shower. The water ran, But I didn't feel its warmth. Only one thought kept pounding in my head. She changed the password. That means she's hiding something. At the office, I couldn't concentrate. Papers, blueprints, all blurred together. Colleagues asked questions, and I nodded without hearing a word. By lunchtime, I made up my mind I would call the library. "Good afternoon, Green Hill Library." A female voice answered. "Hello, is Sarah there?" "Oh, no, she's not working today. She has a day off." I thanked her and hung up. My chest went cold. That morning, Sarah had told me she would be at the library for a long shift. I got back in the car and drove. In moments like this, a small town feels claustrophobic. Every street seems familiar. Every turn leads to something you wish you didn't know. I parked by the same bar. And again her car. A silver Toyota, the one I had bought her 3 years ago. I sat in the car until she came out. This time, she wasn't alone. The same man was with her. He was holding her hand. She didn't pull away. They didn't notice me. I started the engine and drove off, barely looking at the road. The world around me lost all color. Only one thought echoed in my mind. She's cheating on me for real, not suspicions, not fantasies. Fact, in the evening, Sarah acted as usual. She asked how my day was, cooked dinner, laughed at some TV show. I watched her and thought, how can you sit here so calmly, as if nothing is wrong? That night, I barely slept. I lay there, listening to her breathing, smelling her hair, and I realized I no longer know who was lying next to me. The next morning, I couldn't hold back. We sat at breakfast, as usual, Sarah in her blue pajamas, holding a cup of coffee. Everything seemed normal, but I couldn't pretend anymore. "Sarah," I said calmly, though inside I was boiling, "tell me the truth. Is there someone else?" She froze, clutching her cup. Her gaze flicked away, then back at me. Her smile faltered. "What kind of question is that? Are you crazy?" "I saw you. At the bar," I said quietly, but each word cut the air. "With him." Silence. Only the ticking of the clock above the fridge. She set the cup down, closed her eyes. Then she took a deep breath. "You shouldn't have," she started and stopped. "Yes, I was seeing him." My heart tightened. I expected denial, excuses, but she spoke plainly. "Who is he?" I asked. "His name is Michael." Her voice trembled. "He works at the store next to the library." We started talking, and then it just happened. Just happened. I lost control and slammed my fist on the table. "You're my wife. We have a home, a son, 15 years together. How can it just happen?" She cried. "I was lonely. You're always working, always busy. I felt like I was disappearing for you. And he was just there, listening to me." I remained silent. My mind was a roaring wind in a desert. "Do you love him?" I asked, looking straight into her eyes. She shook her head. "No, it's not love. I don't even know what it is. A mistake. A big mistake." I got up from the table and walked to the window. I looked out at the tidy American lawns, at the school bus stopping across the street, the whole picture of a normal life. And inside, everything inside me felt shattered. "I don't know," I said quietly. "I don't know what will happen to us now." Sarah stepped closer, trying to touch my hand, but I pulled away. At that moment, I realized, even if we try to save our marriage, everything has already changed. The crack runs deep. After that conversation, a strange silence settled over the house. We lived under the same roof, but it felt like we were in different worlds. Sarah tried to act as before, cooking dinner, asking about work, checking on Josh's homework. But I noticed how her gaze sometimes lingered on me, anxious, guilty. I tried to pretend too, smiling at the neighbors, mowing the lawn, fixing the squeaky garage hinges. But inside, everything was burning. In America, people talk about a second chance. They believe you can start over, forgive, fix things. But I couldn't. Every little thing reminded me. When she lingered in the store, I thought, who are you with now? When the phone rang, I imagined it was him. One evening, when Josh went to visit friends, I couldn't hold back. "Are you still seeing him?" Sarah flinched as if struck. "No, I swear. I ended everything after that conversation. It hurts that you don't believe me." "How am I supposed to believe you?" I looked her straight in the eyes. "You lied to me for weeks, months, smiling while you—" She cried, sat on the couch, covering her face with her hands. "I know, I'm guilty, but please don't take away my chance to make things right." I sat beside her, but didn't embrace her. "Do you realize what you've destroyed? Our family, our trust. I don't even know who you are anymore." She sniffled. "I am your wife. The same one. Only I stumbled." The words hung in the air. Stumbled. For her, it was a mistake. For me, a chasm. That night, I went outside. I stood on the porch, staring at the dark park. Far away, the hum of cars on the highway. Inside, everything was empty. I remember when we met. A hot June, a college party. She was standing in the corner with a glass of cola, and I thought, this girl is too pure for all this noise. We danced to an old hit, then walked until dawn. I was sure I had found the one, and now she had betrayed me. Or maybe I had betrayed her, failing to notice her loneliness. That night, I realized a decision would have to be made soon. Either forgive and try to move forward, or leave. And both paths felt unbearable. It all happened by accident. I was driving home from work through downtown and decided to stop for coffee at a small cafe, Denny's. The line was short. I placed my order and stepped aside. Then suddenly, I heard her voice. "Michael, come on, stop." I turned. At the counter stood Sarah, a paper cup in her hand, her hair tied in a ponytail, and next to her, him, tall, confident, with that same faint smirk I had seen that night at the bar. They were standing too close, not like casual acquaintances. There was a tension between them that only exists between people who have already crossed the line. I felt the ground give way beneath me. "Sarah." My voice came out loud, too loud. People turned to look. She flinched, turned to me. Her face went pale. "Tom, it's an accident." Michael looked straight at me. No trace of fear, no embarrassment. Only cold curiosity. "You must be the husband?" I took a step toward him. "And you are the one?" He shrugged. "Look, nothing personal. We were just spending time together." Those words ignited something inside me like a match. Just spending time together. That's how he described 15 years of my life, my family, my wife. I wanted to hit him, grab him by the collar, strike him hard enough to wipe that smirk off his face. But at that moment, Sarah stepped between us. "Tom, please don't." I froze. I looked at her, her hands extended toward me, and I realized she was protecting him. Not me, not our family. Him. "I understand," I said hoarsely. "Everything's clear now." I turned and walked out of the cafe. The air outside was thick and warm, but I felt only cold. I got into the car and sat there, staring at the steering wheel. The world around me went on as usual. Cars passed by. People hurried about their business. Inside me, everything was collapsing. At that moment, I realized there was no turning back. After that scene at the cafe, I couldn't live the same way anymore. That evening, when Sarah came home, I was sitting in the kitchen with a bottle of beer. Josh was at a friend's, and it was just the two of us. "Tom, please, let me explain," she began. "Explain." I smirked. "You stood next to him as if I were nothing. You protected him, Sarah, not me." She sank onto the chair across from me, her hands trembling. "I wasn't protecting him. I was trying to stop you. You would have hit him, and it would have made things worse." "Worse." I leaned forward. "Worse? Sarah, you betrayed me. You turned our life into a joke." She cried, covering her face with her hands. But the tears didn't move me anymore. I looked at her and saw a stranger. "I don't know what's between you two," I said, "and I don't want to know anymore. But I know one thing. I can't live like before. She lifted her eyes to mine. You want a divorce? The word hung in the air, heavy as a sentence. I was silent for a long time. Then I said, I don't know, but I know I can't trust you anymore. We sat in silence. The clock on the wall ticked the seconds, taunting us. That night, I didn't go to our bed. I slept on the couch in the living room. Or rather, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, listening to her quietly crying behind the wall. In the morning, I packed a duffel bag. Just the essentials: shirts, a pair of jeans, a razor. Sarah stood in the bedroom doorway. Where are you going? Her voice was barely audible. To a friend's. For a while, I needed to think. She wanted to say something, but the words got stuck in her throat. I left the house and slammed the door behind me. The porch smelled of freshly cut grass. A neighbor waved like nothing had happened. I got into the car and drove away. And I realized my life had split into before and after. I moved in with my longtime friend Mark. He lived in a neighboring neighborhood. A typical American house with red brick, an old Ford in the driveway, and the smell of coffee lingering in the air every morning. Mark didn't ask unnecessary questions. He just said, stay as long as you need. The first few days, I wandered around like in a fog. At work, my colleagues noticed my distraction but didn't ask. In a small town, rumors travel fast, and I was sure people already knew. In the evenings, I sat on Mark's porch, watching the sunset behind rows of neat houses. And I thought, what now? Sarah called, left messages, cried, begged to meet. I didn't respond. I didn't have the strength. A week later, I finally made myself do it. We met in the park, not far from our house. Autumn was already setting in. Leaves yellowed. The air was crisp. Sarah came in a dark coat, looking tired and thinner. She sat across from me on a bench. Tom, I understand everything, she began. I'm guilty. I destroyed what we built over all these years. But please, don't close the door forever. Give me a chance to make things right. I looked at her for a long time. In her eyes were despair, guilt, and hope. And somewhere deep down, the same girl I had once walked with until dawn on campus. Sarah, I said quietly, I can't forget what you did. I can't erase it from my mind. But I also can't say I don't love you. She sniffled and reached out her hand, but I didn't take it. I need time. Maybe months. Maybe years. I don't know if I can forgive, but I will try. For Josh, for what we had. We sat in silence while the leaves swirled and fell at our feet. I realized a simple truth. Cheating isn't just a night with another person. It's the death of trust. And if love can survive, trust rarely comes back. In America, people like to say, time heals. But I knew time doesn't heal. It only teaches you to live with the pain. And I had to decide whether to learn to live with it alongside Sarah or alone. The story wasn't over yet. It was only beginning.